2025 is just around the corner, and let me ask you something. Have you ever felt stressed, depressed, or anxious and have that feeling, how do I move past this? Well, here's the truth. Mental health is normally tied to our thoughts and our feelings. If it's a thought or a feeling, we can do something about it. In this video, I want to show you how you can understand and take control of those feelings. Help you understand yourself better and make small changes that will have a big impact on your mental health. We'll also dive into the big six, as I like to call them. These 6 things that, if any of them are out of balance, will make you feel like you're stressed, anxious, depressed, or bring on other thoughts and feelings related to poor mental health. And the main focus will be more on how we fix these and transform your life. If you only take one thing away from this video, most of what is holding you back isn't permanent. It's often tied to how you think, how you structure your life, and how you take on challenges. And the good news is that is all things that you can change. First of all, I want to look at understanding mental health and why you should listen to me. My name is John Craig. I'm an advanced personal trainer and nutritionist, and I'm the founder of Gorilla and She Coaching. Why should you listen to me? Well, first of all, I spent the last 25 years either in the military or working in the North Sea, in some of the world's most extreme conditions, experiencing things that many people will never experience. This real life experience and having to overcome difficult things day in, day out, not only in difficult, dangerous circumstances, but also in very isolated places where there is no resources, no equipment, and you are basically there to find a solution, in some cases, at all costs. You're in dangerous, life-threatening situations, day in, day out, and how you deal with them challenges will not only define you, but it'll keep you and your team alive. It wasn't when you're used to working in that environment and dealing with these situations, when you come back to normal life onshore or in civilian life, the things that you come across in daily life here are much less challenging and less hazardous, and the likelihood and outcome of something really bad happening is much less. I've also built many successful businesses. I am a parent to 2 young boys. I spend a lot of time in further education, and I have many clients online who I keep in touch with every day. A large part of my offshore life, I was either a supervisor or a manager, where I was in charge of large teams of people from all around the world with different problems, different mindsets, different upbringings, and a big part of my job was not only managing budgets, the safety of the platform, ensuring work scopes were finished, but I had to make sure teams could work together. I had to help motivate people. I had to suggest strategies to keep people on track. We always had to look for solutions. No matter what was happening, we had to find a solution. When you're 110 miles away from land and you have limited resources, limited equipment, and you have a small team of people, in the grand scheme of things, you maybe have 200 people there, but you are very isolated. You very quickly change to a solution-orientated mindset. If you want to achieve the task or complete a task, you need to be thinking solutions, solutions, solutions. From my work experience, my military experience, coaching and working with people, not only coaching people to achieve their fitness and health goals, but also coaching people at work. Not many people know this, but I've been coaching people for many years offshore in lifting operations, also working through different things with safety, human behaviours. There's a lot of things that supervisors, team leaders, managers offshore and in big businesses are doing day in, day out that if you've not experienced this, you probably wouldn't know. The learns from doing that have been great, but what I realised when I spent more time coaching people in the fitness industry, that actually the nutritionist qualification, the J3U, advanced bodybuilding qualifications, the advanced PT qualifications, all these things are great, but actually the things I learned from my real life experience and also maintaining my own physique in these circumstances have actually been much more helpful to me than any of these qualifications I've ever completed. These qualifications are helpful. A lot of the things that you learn in your nutritionist qualifications, your PT qualifications, they can be found on YouTube, they can be found online. There's so much information out there now, and yes, you need to filter through it and make sure you are getting it from a reputable source. But this is all stuff in my qualifications that I've done in the health and fitness, although they're very, very good qualifications. All that information is all out there. One thing that has been so helpful, as I said a minute ago, is my real life experience, these real strategies that I've implemented for myself, my team, and my clients throughout the years to allow them to be successful regardless of the circumstances has been the most beneficial thing. That real life experience has been the most beneficial thing. I could never imagined how useful this has been, not only to myself, my clients, my children, and other people that I work with day in, day out. Back on the subject of mental health, I think it's important to explain to you who I am and why you should listen to me. There are many people out there who are advocates for mental health, fitness experts, nutrition experts, and we all have our own unique background and story. Understanding mental health. Let's look at mental health in a little bit more detail. Mental health for me now is a big buzzword that covers almost anything, almost any poor feeling. It can be a good excuse for many people. It can be something that is a thought or a feeling of negativity that people don't understand or they don't like. I think there's almost a lot of pressure now that I see, not on myself, but I do see there's a lot of pressure now from society for people to speak up and tell everyone they have mental health problems. Everyone in society is unwell now. We're all encouraged to be weaker. Now, I think there's good reasons for that, but this isn't a political podcast, and I'm not going into great detail of why the people in power, your governments and things, would want you to be weak. If you read the Gulag Archipelago, for example, that might give you a good idea why governments and people in power would want weak opposition. But that's about as much as I'm going to touch on that subject. Let's put some figures out there. According to the World Health Organization, which whether we trust them or not is a good starting point. According to the World Health Organization, in 2023, 5% of the world's population was clinically depressed. This video is not for the clinically depressed. Unfortunately for the clinically depressed, they will see specialists in that matter, and it is not just as simple as it's a thought or a feeling, go and do something about it. The other 95% of the people, this video is for you. The World Health Organization also reports that 40% of people, although not clinically depressed, are reporting signs of poor mental health. Whether that's depression, stress, anxiety, any of these buzzwords that we hear too often now. They're also normally followed about, we need to speak about this. Another thing I want you to take from this video, we need to speak about this, yes. But we need to speak about this not to make it worse or keep festering away in our brains. We need to speak about this to look for a solution. The only reason you should be focusing on the negative parts of your poor mental health or the feelings of poor mental health is to find out what the root cause of the problem is. Once you find the root cause of the problem, I want you to try and focus all of your energy on what is the solution. How do I fix the thing that's going to make you feel better? I can guarantee by implementing a few simple steps that we're going to speak about soon, this thought or this feeling is a distant memory. But it does need you to take a little bit of ownership to focus on what is the real root cause of the problem and what is the solution. According to the World Health Organization, if you're part of that 95%, then you can do something about it. Looking at thoughts or feelings. If it's a thought or a feeling, as I said before, you can do something about it. I want people to understand that our body has these things, I like to call them self-defense mechanisms, that we feel something that is telling us we need to make a change. I'm not saying big lifestyle changes, it might be a split-second decision that changes something. Your body will tell you to fear something. Your body sometimes puts you under certain stresses where you'll start feeling anxious, you might be fearing something, you're lacking confidence. Sometimes you're just unsure and you're not really too confident of what it is. You might feel a little bit down, you're feeling a little bit depressed. These are all feelings. Notice I keep saying you feel. Because if it's a feeling, again, you can do something about it. Why is your body giving you these signals? I believe they are self-defense mechanisms to tell you you're lacking confidence. Why are you lacking confidence? This again, getting the mind working, let's look at the root cause. Why are you lacking confidence? You're lacking confidence because you're maybe lacking training, knowledge, experience. Maybe it's the first time you've ever done this. Or maybe your brain's telling you, you've done this the last time and you hurt yourself. Not lacking confidence, whatever the reason is, it's good for you to think about it and find out, is protecting you, because then it's telling you, you need to go away and practice more. You need to go away and educate yourself more. You need to start putting yourself in these more dangerous or more complicated situations. This becomes something that's normal for you, and you practice and practice and your confidence grows. Or you're feeling scared. You're fearing something. If you want to go back to the caveman days, you're fearing something because every day you were out hunting, there was predators trying to kill you, you're crossing dangerous rivers, and your body's telling you, you should be fearful of these things, And that is so you don't become complacent and you don't hurt yourself. Again, another positive thing. All of these thoughts and feelings that your body's telling you to protect itself are actually really positive. Losing the ability to be able to process why your body's telling them and what you need to do about it is not positive. That is something in society that we should be encouraging. Again, if we can try and ask people, which I'll touch on this later on in the video, is what is the solution? What is the solution? But to find a solution, you need to know what the cause of it is. Looking at all these things and depressed, you wouldn't believe how many times when I was offshore I would have somebody come to my office. Now I'm the manager, I'm in charge of the whole platform, and you think sometimes this is going to be a really cool, interesting job, but actually quite a large percentage of the time you're actually become like a psychiatrist. You have somebody coming to you with problems. So somebody would come and say, I'm a bit down today, I'm not feeling too good, I'm feeling depressed. You can tell that there's something obviously eating away at them. And then I'll say, what's up, what's causing this, and try and work out, because I understand that they've got themselves in a position where they can't seem to find the root cause, or they don't want to find a solution themselves. For me, in that position, it's my job to make sure that everyone's well-being is okay, everyone's feeling fit, healthy, mentally and physically. When you're in the middle of the sea, 100 miles from land, unfortunately you can't just tell somebody, yeah, just go home. So you need to be helping them to try and get their mind in the game. They normally come to you because they want to speak to somebody, which is really healthy. It's good for people to speak to somebody and get things off their mind, with, again, hoping to find a solution and willing to put a little bit of effort into implementing what is required to get a solution. So then they start telling you, this time off I'd been drinking a lot, I wasn't answering the phone to my wife, I'd been at the pub all weekend, I didn't go home, I'd been cheating, my wife caught me cheating with some lady, or all these things, and then actually they tell you all this stuff, so you're thinking, oh, that's not good. I can't tell somebody how to fix that, that's a problem that's very personal to them, but they'll tell you like 4 or 5 things, and then they'll tell you, I'm not getting to see my children, I'm having financial difficulties because I need to go and find somewhere to stay, I don't think my wife's going to forgive me, all these things. All of these things, it's very important to this person, or should have been important. Maybe a little bit of alcohol, his mind's not thinking right, and he's lost all that. So he's lost almost everything in his life, and now he's trying to think about, how am I going to see my kids? How am I going to fix my relationship? My health is starting to deteriorate mentally and physically because of the stress and the worry. I don't think my wife's going to have me back. I've also had this other girl now. All these things are building up. I'm going to touch on this in more detail further on, but they are the big 6 that are really going to cause you big problems. Then I have to say to this person, or I don't have to, but I like to say to this person, well, it's considering what you've just told me, you should feel guilty. You should feel depressed because you basically have everything working against you now. However, I also think it's important to ask them, is this self-pity, is this the victim mentality coming out because you've been caught, or did you make a genuine mistake and you really are feeling bad and you want to fix all these things and you want to make up with your wife and your family and you're willing to do everything it takes to fix these things? Or are you just annoyed now that you've been doing this every month and now you've been caught for it and you've lost everything? That's down to them to decide. But if you're in wanting sympathy when actually you're the person who's the bad one, sometimes you need to look at your own front door and say, look, was this self-inflicted? Or am I the victim here? And sometimes it's, some people just want self-pity, some people just want to get it off their chest. They have no intention of actually fixing it. But unless you step back and you're honest with yourself and actually look and say, who is at blame here? What was the root cause of the problem? It might be a much bigger picture, but I'm just showing you the things that would come across my desk day in, day out. And I would explain to that person, okay, so I'm not going to go into personal details, that's all your stuff. But what I would say to you, it's normal what you're feeling. You've got all this big 6 going against you, and we break down into that. I'm not going into the details of that again. And it is normal for you to feel depressed. Let's look at the ones now that you've told me that you've messed up, and tell me what ones you think you can fix. Because each one of them that you can fix, of the things that you've destroyed the last week or 2, is going to minimise that feeling of depression. And each time you fix one and start to turn a corner, you might never get the forgiveness of your wife, but if you fix the other 4 or 5 things, you've done the best you can. This is the sort of things day in, day out that we're having discussions like this. It is quite difficult for me when it is the person who's created all these problems and now they want self-pity and they're the victim. I find it really hard to sympathise with this person. I will still say the same thing, you need to go and fix things, and it doesn't change the need for looking for the root cause and the solutions. In that case, the root cause is very obvious. But he should feel depressed because he has really messed up his life. And then I have other people that tell me this has happened and it's maybe not so obvious. They might tell you they're depressed, but they can't figure out what it is. And it turns out maybe they've stopped socialising, or maybe they lost someone in their family that time, or maybe they've become very reliant on alcohol or drugs and they've not really picked up on these things. But these are all things that we should really be looking at ourselves. There was just some examples from my previous offshore experience, and I was seeing these day in, day out, and I was having the same discussion. It was always the same thing. And the one thing that really got me interested was the lack of ability for people at all ages. And I work with people all around the world from 18 to nearly 70 in some cases. And that lack of ability from the majority of them to actually either take responsibility, find the root cause, and look for an actual real solution that's going to fix these things. And in some cases, even the awareness of how many of these things were actually impacted in their life. That really interested me, was just the lack of ability to find solutions. So when I started going more and more into the health, fitness, coaching, working with a lot of people with mental health, actually a high percentage of the clients that I did take on, it wasn't so obvious initially, but some of them, or a lot of them, weren't achieving their goals because of their poor mental health. And I have some strategies that I'm going to touch on in other parts of this that helped people identify why they're not achieving their fitness goals. It's not always that people don't know what they're doing, or they're lazy, or they're lacking discipline, or they're lacking motivation, or these buzzwords they're throwing about a lot. It's not always the case. Sometimes there's a lot going on in that person's life, and let's just say the big six again, there might be 3 or 4 of them that they're not very good at, or they've messed up, or they've put a plaster over and never fixed. And you're telling this person, you need to eat properly, you need to do this. I don't tell people they need to do things, and they're thinking, I'd love to, but I'm just not in that mindset yet. What we would then have to do is we would have to try and understand their whole life. And I got into some really personal conversations with a lot of my clients, and really drilling down till we figured out what was wrong. It's not always necessary, and it's not my business sometimes, but if people want to share, I'm always willing to try and help them. What I've often said to them is sometimes there is things that I can't help with, there's things that I could help you discuss and allow you come up with your own sort of conclusion, or look for your own solutions, or maybe you can drill down and find your own root cause because it's too personal that it's nothing to do with me. But one thing I did notice with every single one of my clients, and every person, even people I've not had as clients, people that I've just speak to in the gym, people in the fitness communities I'm in, other people around the world, I watch other videos. Once people start looking at the root cause, they start working on fixing it, and then they start implementing a routine. Now that routine might be that they're getting up at the same time every day. They've started meal prepping because they want to make healthier food choices. They've then started going to the gym a few times a week. They're also consistently making work on time. This structure had freed up a bit more time, because I've always said discipline creates freedom. They're not my words, they're actually from a very good book. And because they're a little bit more focused on their health and fitness, they're probably not drinking so much, because these people have changed all these little things. So they've behaved in a certain way for a short period of time, and they keep repeating this positive behaviour, and then their attitude has changed along with it. This has helped them. So this attitude has now changed to a bit more of a positive attitude. But while they've been behaving this way for a period of time, all of these things I call the big six have naturally started improving. And it's not always been that they've totally focused on them specifically. It's other things they're doing positive in the background has brought all them up. Say the first 2 or 3 weeks, a lot of the discussions become about mental health, anxiety, stress, confidence, going into the gym, not feeling good in their own clothes, not feeling good about their own body, maybe issues with their performance in the gym. There's loads of these things, the issues with their relationship, time spent with their kids, your work performance. All of these things are improving. The first 2 or 3 weeks they're speaking about these all the time, and then all of a sudden you stop hearing about these, just like silence. And it's just all you're hearing is, oh, I've improved on this in the gym. Oh, I managed to stick to my meals this week. Could you tell me a little bit more about this? Because I've learned that the protein that I've been eating every day is actually making a big difference. Is there other things we could implement? And this is more what we start speaking about instead of anxiety, stress, depression. What I normally, rather than jumping the gun, I normally wait a few weeks after that, and I'll normally say, what happened to your mental health problems? And they'll say, what mental health problems? I'll say, well, do you remember 2 or 3 weeks ago, or 2 months ago when we first started this? Actually, the biggest thing holding you back was actually your mental health problems. Now, I don't often dwell on that too much at the time or want to go over it too much. Sometimes I leave it because I know once they implement a structured routine that these things are they're gone. They're a distant memory. That's happened far too many times. And yeah, that's not just from my experience. Other coaches I speak to all around the world, they see the same thing. We get a structured routine, we behave in a certain way, in a positive way, for longer and longer. Our attitude changes and everything just becomes more positive. And then after that, we start hanging about or surrounding ourselves with much more positive people. So our relationships, our socialising, everything then is around more positive people. And positivity for me breeds. If you're hanging about with a lot of negative people, everyone's depressed or stressed, you're spending half your days in the doctor trying to get antidepressants and hanging about other people that's got all these problems, you're going to have this cloud over your head all the time. Once you push that aside, not intentionally, but as you're going, progressing, doing all this positive stuff, that is gone. And then you start buzzing because you're surrounding yourself in all these positive people. And these positive people are lifting you up, you're lifting them up. You're encouraging people, you're all really encouraging each other, and you might end up being involved in more community groups. And everything then is lifted up. And this thoughts and feelings that you thought was mental health, they're gone. And it's great to see. I love seeing that transformation in people. That's just my little bit of experience with mental health. And throughout this next hour, I'm going to explain quite a few other things, just from my own experience. And this is stuff that not only have I experienced, but this has been years and years of me reading books, studying human behaviours, practicing these things that I learned in books, working with big teams of people. This isn't just something like textbook stuff. This is real things that have been implemented for many years with many people. Males, females, all ages, internationally as well. I work with people around the world, I have coaching clients all around the world, and they work for everyone. Why do we only focus on the problems? It's the next thing I want to look at. I touched on this a little bit at the start, but the thing for me, mental health, I would be looking at, one thing that makes me very suspicious, we have all these intelligent people in power, all across our governments, in the education system, even through into sports and everything we're involved in now. Anyone with any kind of authority, there is a good mixture of intelligent people there. If we have all these intelligent people, and we seem to have lost the ability to look for solutions, society is becoming weaker, and all we can come up with is we have to talk about it and give every person we can antidepressants. That tells me that it's probably as per design. Otherwise there'd probably be a saying, let's talk about solutions, or let's analyse the root cause of the problem. Let's help you fix things. Or if it's a feeling, you could change it. But I don't seem to hear all these things from these so-called intelligent people. And something like that, when you have all these intelligent people, which I do believe they are intelligent people, and if it was about their own children or themselves, I could assure you they have a different solution to what is spread to the masses. What makes me suspicious then is why would they not be interested in fixing people? And what my belief is people's poor mental health, weak societies, people's lacking ability of being able to do something about it is excellent for people in power. And also it's massive business for the health and pharmaceutical industries, which are one of the biggest global superpowers in terms of power and wealth. And also from a government point of view, if we have lots of weak people who are walking about speaking about their poor mental health and they're focused on other things, they are definitely not focusing on the poor running of our governments and looking at where all the money disappears to and how your taxes are not spent very well. Also, if you've filled everyone full of antidepressants and they're sitting in their couch, happy people, oblivious to anything that's going on around them, that's not a bad thing for people in power. I don't want this to be a political video in any way. I'm going to move on, but I think it's very important to understand that there's people out there who we see in authority positions who maybe don't have our best interests at heart. One of the other things I have a lot of experience in is part of the offshore position I'd done, or all the positions I'd done really had high responsibility for incident investigation, also for managing businesses, budgets, performance. Some of the only ways you can do that sometimes, especially in incidents, if you've had a big incident, is finding out what the root cause of the problem is. By doing all these different training courses and by doing all this education and almost everything that I was going through, whether it was business, fitness, performance, incident investigation, I've done a lot of training courses with the police, a lot with a lot of elite coaching companies for business performance, for managing people. Every one of them had the same thing. Let's find what the root cause of the problem is. Let's find out why this was happening, what's the underlying conditions, and what is the solutions. Then the solution would basically be the actions you would take, normally smart actions. So you had some way of ensuring that they were actually completed. You would also look for these actions so you could make sure things were actually completed, and these actions would normally be SMART actions, which would be specific, measurable, it is attainable, it's realistic or relevant, and there's a timeline. It was the same in even though they were totally different subjects. All of these things looked at solutions and the root cause. However, when we go into mental health, it is about let's talk about things. And I think we can all admit that the more we speak about something, the more we bring something to the front of our mind all the time, and the more we don't focus on actually fixing it or finding a solution, that this starts eating away at us. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it could be the thing that is actually really eating away at you. I'm not saying not to speak about it. Speaking about it is really positive, but speak about it with the mindset that I'm going to try and fix it. For me, it was always really suspicious why in the mental health world this never seemed to be a thing. Let's get to that mindset where if somebody comes to you for a problem, be that person that says, oh, that's great, what's the solution? If every problem that comes to you and the first thing that comes to your mind is what's the solution, you are in a different place straight away. That becomes contagious as well. So people don't want to come with your problems because they know you're going to say what's the solution. Then they start thinking, I'm wasting my time telling him, I'm just going to look for a solution. And I don't mean become that person that is not approachable or people don't want to speak to. I mean in a positive way, you influence other people to look for solutions. We can have a lot of influence on society, and especially the people around us. Our sphere of influence is actually a lot bigger than you'd ever imagine. If everyone was working with that positive mindset and everyone was encouraging people to speak about it, look for the solutions and things, that would change a lot. Another thing what we have here as well is people are having depression, there's a lot of male suicides. There's a lot of pressure on people now to act in a certain way. It's unrealistic and a lot of it's fake anyway, which we're going to speak about that soon. I think that's a big part of the problem. But you have people who are going through a lot of things, so they're not been socialising, they've not been speaking to their friends, poor relationships, they messed up all the stuff with their wives, girlfriends, kids, whatever it is, and then they decide suicide might be an option, which I hope nobody ever should get to that place. There should always be that you can go and get help. If you're at that place, you maybe want to be going seeing psychiatrists or doctors if you really can't find a solution yourself. But as society then, we quite often then make this person, it's almost like the Tupac effect where you weren't socialising, didn't have many friends, these things are all eating away at you. And then you decide to harm yourself, or either you do commit suicide or you don't. And all of a sudden then you become almost like the most popular person on the planet. And I think as well for other people that are contemplating this, you're seeing all this nice attention somebody's getting. And this might sound really bad saying this, but I also think that this does encourage other people. It's almost become, it's a positive thing somebody's done, and all these people that didn't have any time for that person or didn't support that person or wasn't there for that person when they were alive is now all over social medias and everything that this person was the greatest person ever. And let's be honest, when they were alive, were you there for them? We'd like a lot more people to be speaking up and saying, that's not acceptable to be doing that. We need people to be looking for solutions, and that should never be an option. Looking at also the damage, not only doing it yourself, your children, and everyone else around you. So this is, the whole point in this video was to avoid people to get into that area. But I do think that in a roundabout way is encouraging people to take them extreme actions. Not a nice subject, but I think sometimes we need to look at the not so nice things in order to find solutions to the more positive things. So, moving on now, I want to look at the big six. These are things that I mentioned a few times already. I left them a little bit later on the video because I didn't want to get straight into what I see as the solution. We have 6 key things that I see as kind of umbrella terms. Obviously there's much more things than this, but these 6 things that I see, this is the trends. I'm not the only person that says this, there's many people that I listen to online, coaches, experience, all the people I spoke before that I communicate with or watch or read about. Different studies I've read, patterns I've observed. I have a very analytic mind, and I'm always researching, looking at different things. The big 6, so you're looking at things, people, these aren't in any order by the way. Looking at the big 6 that I think causes most of the problems. I'm going to run through the big 6 quickly here. So we have health, we have reliance on medication, alcohol or drugs. We have relationships. Now when I say relationships, I mean loving relationships. We have socialising, which is generally with friends or family. We have finances, and we have work, hobbies, or a purpose in life. I put them the same thing because I wouldn't want to exclude people who were either pre-working age, post-working age, or people who'd retired, or people who are lucky enough to not be tax slaves and don't work. These 6 things, that if one of these is off in your life, you are going to feel, remember, feel like you have mental health issues. Not always, some people aren't as affected as others. Of these 6 things, everything is great, you feel great, and generally life's okay. Then you notice financially you're not doing too great. You also then start having problems with work, and you know this is affecting your relationships, which then stops you socialising so much because you can't afford to go out and things, which then eats away at your health, and then you become dependent on drugs or alcohol. There you go, 6 things who've quickly went from being a very positive person to now these 6 things are all going off and your life should be at rock bottom. You should feel depressed, you should feel stressed, you should feel horrible. That's normal. If you don't, if you've got these 6 things that you've messed up in your life, might not be your fault, but I'm saying that they are messed up in your life, is probably more accurate, and you don't feel bad, there's something wrong with you. When you feel bad, you feel depressed, you feel whatever it is, anxious, about all these things, that is telling you, right, you need to look at your life, you need to change something, and you need to fix them. Then you say, oh, I'm going to fix these, because you have looked and you think, I know what the problem is here. You decide that money is something we can't do it without. You really start focusing on your work, you get back on track with work, you apply for a new job, you fix whatever the problem is with work. That's fixed. Your income is then sorted out. These 2 things are fixed. You stop going out drinking all the time, which then makes you a more normal person. Your partner, who you were going through a lot of fighting and things, maybe you were splitting up or whatever, sees that you have now changed and seen the errors in your ways. Or it might not have been your fault, but whatever it is, you have changed things or improved things to make your life better. And they will see that, so they see you're making an effort. So now you've managed to be able to fix things with them, which now you can afford. You've done the main priority stuff in your life, so now you can afford to start going and socialising more with friends, and magically your health, well-being, mentally and physically, you are feeling great again. These 6 things are now fixed. And that is really as simple as that. But sometimes it's not as simple as that. Sometimes it is just one thing. Relationships, for example. People don't like to tell you that they're messing up their relationship. They don't want to tell you that they're getting older and their wife doesn't find them attractive and they don't want to have sex with them. They don't want to tell you that maybe their wife's having an affair or their husband's having an affair. These are things that people keep secret. Quite often, not always. There might be these hidden things going in the background that when people are saying, yeah, I feel depressed, and from an outsider looking in, you'll think, actually, your life looks pretty good. I can understand why, but they're maybe not telling you about these other things, and that's not our business. That's up to them what they want to do about it. But quite often it is the case that things aren't always as great as what they seem on the outside. That's the big 6. I'm not going to dwell on them too much. What I would like you to do, though, is I want you to, if you are feeling a bit down, is write down these 6 and analyse each one of them and really be critical of yourself and just say, am I actually really socialising with people? How is my relationship? Am I happy? Maybe you're happy, but maybe your partner's not. Are my finances? How is my work? Maybe I've been stagnating for years and years and I can maybe do a change, or I don't like my boss. Or no, I want to be my own boss now. I'm sick of paying tax. I'm going to get a new job. Really look at these things and you look and see, it might be, have I been drinking too much? You started off, I used to drink a bottle of wine a night. Now I'm drinking a bottle of wine every month. Now I'm drinking one a night and I'm having a few bottles of beer, and you've got no energy and it's eating away at my health. I'm gaining weight. I don't feel good. My confidence is bad. And look at each one of these. And each time it's much better if you write it down because it gives you a lot more things to look at, and you'd be amazed once you start really branching off of these things, how many things you pick up on that you probably aren't doing too great in. But again, this is us going back to, we're just talking about things. Each time you have analysed these things, at the top of the page, and I think this is a good thing to do, is at the top of the page write down what is the solution. Because I don't want you to just analyse these things, I want you to analyse these things with the mindset of, is how am I going to fix them? You found all the problems now, say you found 4 or 5 problems, the next thing is, how am I going to fix this? And that might come up with another problem, how am I going to fix this? And you just keep looking. Or another trick you can do is sometimes Sometimes if you don't have the training that people, I have, as I said to you before, I've got a lot of training in root cause analysis in loads of different industries and also for different reasons. For me, it's quite easy to drill down, but one of the techniques we used to do is just keep asking why. I'm drinking too much. That is maybe the immediate problem. Why am I drinking too much? Oh, that is because I'm feeling a little bit down. Maybe I'm hanging out with the wrong type of people and they drink every night in the pub. Why am I doing that? Oh, well, that's because I stopped socialising with my other friends because they play sports every night and I can't really be bothered. And why is that? Why is that? Oh, that's probably because I've become unfit and unhealthy because I stopped eating properly. And you know, if you keep asking why, and once you can't ask why anymore, that is your problem. And that is what you fix. Fixing the root cause should fix all the rest of them, but you might have a long list of things with all these whys that actually need to be fixed. And I'm going to be honest with you, sometimes that it's not easy. Sometimes, because you know, it might be that, well, actually I'm drinking too much because I'm hanging out with the wrong type of people, but actually I like these people, they're good fun and I quite enjoy being with them. Maybe you don't want to cut them out of your life, but you can do things to make your situation better. You don't have to drink every night. And again, these are just examples. I'm just pulling them out of fresh air, but they are most of them are from real life events, really. So from things I've experienced with other people in the past. Then we get the solutions, and that is what we want from these big six. Identify them, find out why, and how you're going to fix it. And this might take you a long time, but I can assure you, once you fix all them six, mental health problems no longer exist. Just finishing up on that, look at the six, identify what one is the problem. It might only be one that is out, and one being out can have a massive domino effect in a negative way, but each one fixed also has a great effect in improving them also. As you go through these big six, there will be a great learning process there, because then you're starting to use your mind. Not only are you critiquing yourself, there's a lot of root cause analysis going on, a lot of solution finding, which these behaviours are really good in terms of changing your attitude. Once your attitude changes that way and you really get a lot more self-aware, these things will be much more natural to fix. As soon as you see them going out of balance, you'll want to fix them straight away. Moving on now, I want to look at a little bit of self-awareness. For me, self-awareness is so important. One of the tools that we like to use for self-awareness is personality profiling. It's one of the tools that I have used with my clients with great success. I have used for myself. It improved my work significantly. I am an extremely task-orientated person. I was a manager and a supervisor, department head at a very, very young age. I think in my early 20s I was a department head, and I was a department head of people that were the same age as my granddad almost. Very experienced, intelligent, hard-working people. And these people, although they were good guys, they weren't always very receptive to a task-orientated, very confident, aggressive young man who was also very competent and hard-working. I had to quite quickly adapt, and there was other guys my age at that same time who now are successful managers, team leaders, and they all had great mindsets. But me being so extreme task orientated, I was missing that human connection. I seen people as objects, so as a department head, I would be saying to people, get out there and get it done. I could do this quicker, and I didn't really have any empathy towards people. I just wanted the work done, and I couldn't listen to anything that was a question or no, or people asking why. I just seen that as these people are so difficult, why can't they just go and do their job? But for my own selfish reasons, I thought I want to be a better manager, I want to be a better department head, I wanted to be more successful, and more successful, being honest with you, is what I was more focused on. But I knew I had to fix this thing so I could move on. I was always quite an influential person, but once I was into this position of much higher authority, I had lost that influential behaviour, because you almost become like this authority figure which people generally want to rebel against. We're quite bad in Scotland and the UK for rebelling against anyone in authority, regardless of whether you like them, good or bad. It's quite common here, and I'm sure there's many other places around the world that's the same. But yeah, it was important to me to be successful. I decided to read a lot. I was reading a lot of things, a lot of Dale Carnegie books. I was studying a lot of chimp paradox, personality profiling, habits of successful people. I was watching videos on some studies of the last century's millionaires and things, when millionaire was actually quite a big thing. And I'd come across something that made the biggest difference to me, and that was personality profiling. In order for me to be able to help other people, obviously I had to learn more about myself, and this is what this journey was about really, which I didn't really understand at the start. So I understand more about myself. The more I understood myself, the more I was starting to see that these other people maybe weren't as bad as what I first thought. Some of them were, but some of them weren't. And my approach could have been fixed. For me, I always have to look at myself and take responsibility. You know, although some of these people were being difficult, they maybe wouldn't have been difficult if my approach was different. The personality profiling I was reading, it was Dr. Robert Romm's book I read. I thought that was the best one, DISC. Great book. If you are coaching people, managing people, working with people, have children, almost anywhere in life you're going to be building relationships. If you're involved with people in any way, this book and his systems and how he understands and works with other people is a game changer. What happens initially with this, you learn a lot about yourself, and I learned that I was almost off the chart D-type personality and almost off the chart C-type personality, which means I'm extreme task orientated, and so these two were almost off the chart, and the two human orientated personality types from the DISC model were almost non-existent from my personality. The advice from the Robert Romm, the doctor, was you need to work on your ability to work with people better. Then I started realising now this wasn't all these difficult people all the time, it was actually 50% of it was my fault. But now I understood it. And then with reading the book, the first part of the process is understanding yourself. And it's just like a light bulb moment, and you start to realise a lot of things. And then the second part of it is understanding the people who you're, or just people in general. After reading that, my performance, my relationships with people, my behaviours, my attitude changed so much because I actually understood myself and I understood other people. I learned how to deal with people who were my personality type, who could be very difficult for some things. I learned how to deal with other people who are very supportive, human-orientated people, and year after year had great successes. At the start, my annual appraisals didn't really touch on much about dealing with people. By the time at the end of my offshore career, the biggest thing I was being praised for was my ability to work with people, motivate people, influence people, which actually was my weakest point. I learned that by bringing up my weakest point in line with all my strong points, that then become, well, to other people from an outsider looking in, became one of my strongest points in. Why am I telling you this? One, I want you to consider if that's something you think you would like to do to improve your own relationships with people. Two, it shows you from a coaching point of view the things in the detail we are looking at to help our clients be successful. And the third one is now I can speak about some of the real life successes with this. One of my clients, Dimitra, speak about it a lot in the videos. He was the first client who used my online app, and we've been working together on a lot of things since. She has made great progress, but one of the tools at the time that we had to use, just because we had, I can't remember specifically what it was, but how I seen Dimitra and how she seen herself and how people in her family and her circle seen her were all completely different. And I could see there was a lot of things from her personality traits that were holding her behind and stopping her achieving her goals. I basically wanted her to be less supportive and caring about everyone else in the world and prioritising herself, because I'm coaching her to be successful. I'm not coaching her to be looking after half of the world. However, I have to take my hat off to these people who have that supportive, real care for other people, because Dimitra pretty much puts everyone else first ahead of herself. And I don't mean that in a negative way, I mean that she's a really nice, caring person. And we could do more people like that in the world. But when you need somebody to prioritise themselves, to make sure they always hit their gym days, their meals, all these things, I think it's important to understand that prioritising yourself first is not selfish. Task-orientated people will care about everyone. They could actually care about people and be more loyal than anyone who's supportive or human orientated. They have a different way of showing it, but they always prioritise themselves first, and they often make themselves a stronger version, which makes them able to support people even better. To a human orientated person, they will see this person sometimes as being very selfish, and unless you're one of the people who directly benefit from their performance, their money, their kindness, their caring, their work rate, their ability to be a strong person and really care for you, you might look at this person and think they're a little bit crazy and all they care about is themselves. their children, their wife, their family, friends, they might see a totally different person though. We used Robert Rom's disc profile to, one, I showed Dimitra my report, which is 62 pages long, and I showed her just to give her an understanding, and then I explained to her from my own assessment. Bearing in mind I'm not a personality profiling doctor, I have completed 3 or 4 official courses in this, and I explained to her from my assessment how I seen her. Now, how someone sees themselves, how someone sees you in a workplace, and how your own family sees you could be 3 different things. What we've done is we've done this personality report, and it come back, and I think initially Dimitra received this, and I think because it was the opposite of what she's seen herself, I think it was very hard for her to accept it at first. But again, she'd been received a report saying she was a very nice, supportive, kind, caring person, and she probably cared more about other people than what she did herself. That is not a negative thing. That is a real positive thing. But it was just different to how she's seen herself. Although I think deep down, I think she spoke to her daughter and her family, and I think they probably seen the same as what the report says. There was a lot of good discussions about this at the time. I've seen that as a bit of a turning point in our relationship, because that allowed us to then implement things differently to allow her to be successful. It also allowed us to have a lot of good discussions in how Dimitra could prioritise herself. She's still working on that, because I don't think that's something that will ever disappear, but I have seen over the last 1.5 years that she has really brought up the other task-orientated sides, and she has been so disciplined in that process. She tracks her food every day, she meets her targets every day. She's consistently lost fat over the last 1.5 years. She's had bad injuries, she's not gained any of the weight, and she's consistently on track. There is 1 or 2 things she's still working on. She is, with understanding of her personality type and how she is very supportive of other people, she has been able to bring up her other sides to balance that out a lot more. It's really cool. So that's just one example how we were able to use that to understand her better, but also gave me the opportunity to give her my report so she could understand me. And sometimes, obviously speaking online and things like that, there can always be that breakdown in communications, but if you have an understanding of that person's personality, you know that there's maybe misunderstandings, because that would be unnatural for that person to say things, or it just gives people a lot bigger understanding of each other. And I think in the coaching world, it's always about the person being coached. The person being coached, I don't say they don't care, but they are wanting to be coached to improve. They don't want to hear, you need to be disciplined, you need to be motivated, you need to do this. These people who are being coached, I've heard of all these buzzwords before. They don't care about what your PBs are, how strong you are, how disciplined you are, how motivated you are. As a coach, you're a coach and you've got high performance and you look great because you do these things. It's natural to you. You've implemented strategies throughout your life that allow these things to fall into place, and you're speaking to somebody who's wanting your help and telling you, I'm the strongest guy, I can do this PB, I'm so cool, I do 50,000 steps every day. During proper coaching conversations, it's not really meant to be about the coach. Sorry to break that news to you. Yeah, it was just one example from real client results. Now the reason I'm telling you that is because that is something that we use day in, day out, that really helps us get great results with our clients. But also, if you are struggling with mental health, you can go online and do one of these reports. They're not expensive. You can do them online. You answer a series of questions and you get stuff back. You then start understanding yourself better. You will then start understanding, I'm struggling at work to complete tasks because I'm not a task-orientated person. What you do find with task-orientated people, what your class is high D and high C people, so a high D will find solutions for a task because they're driven problem solvers. It is natural for them to find solutions so they can complete a task. That is how they're wired up. They are very unlikely people to have mental health problems because they're so driven to achieve success that they don't even notice some of the stuff around them. Then you have the high C, which is the other more conscientious, task-orientated person. That person is very analytic normally. They're great with detail. They're always looking for things. So they're quite good at analysing something. So if they're having problems, again, their goal is normally to complete a task. So if they're having problems, they're analysing all this stuff, all this data, to find a way how they can be successful. Again, they're natural problem solvers. in a different way to the D type, but I do find that they are, again, less likely to have all these mental health problems than the human orientated people. I do find between the D and the C type person, from experience, now I'm not giving you the whole world, I don't know everyone, that the C people, because they quite are often highly analytical people, they can pick up on stuff which can end up creating some insecurities and various other things, because their analytic mind is just going all the time. But then when you get the I and the S, so the influential type person, they're normally quite flamboyant. They have bright coloured cars and they wear the nice coloured shirts and things. They're a real people person. They love to be a centre of attention. These people, I find, can be one of the worst for getting mental health problems, because if they're not that focus of attention, and they're not this person who is the life of the party, they can get down quite quickly, and obviously they need that, they thrive on that. Also, the supportive human orientated person, the S-type person, they also can get a lot of problems as well, because they are there to support people. If they can't support people, they feel bad. They are actually sometimes at the happiest, almost being treated like a servant, almost like a doormat, and sometimes it's really hard to see, but actually that person sometimes wants to be in that position, and they're very happy to be serving, supporting, doing things for other people. They actually put themselves in positions sometimes to do that, and they're quite happy being that way. But they can get a lot of problems as well, because they are real people type people, and when people push them aside or aren't interested, or maybe are not appreciative of their support they're given and things, it can really eat away at them. And they can find, if they're mixing a lot of the time with S-type people, or mixing a lot with D type people, supporting the D-type people. The D-type people are normally lacking empathy, human emotion, and they can steamroll through life like a rhinoceros. All they care about is focused on the task. And this nice supportive person who's their friend or in a relationship with them has been walked all over. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but they've two people have got a different mindset. And this person can feel like they're being trampled on all the time, and they can be really horrible for them, actually. So just be mindful that if you are ever really wanting to improve relationships, or your ability to be able to analyse yourself or understand yourself better, personality profiling is one of the best tools I have come across for doing that. Definitely something to consider. And you could speak about them all day, but there's a limit to what I'm going to cover in a video, because nobody would watch it. A lot of that was all about self-analysis, critiquing yourself, root cause analysis. This is all like the gathering the information. The next bit now is almost like making a plan. I'm not saying you need to make this so official, and I've spoke through these things like almost you need to write this down, and you need to, once you get used to doing this naturally, if it's a behaviour and your attitude changes towards it, these can be quick split second sort of, oh yeah, messing up on that, this is really affecting me, it's affecting my relationships, this is why I'm doing that, and this is what I'm going to change. And that could be a 5-second thought process in the brain. It could also be much bigger than that. I'm just going to talk through this as a process. Now that you've got all that information, you've analysed yourself, you've been critical, you think you've got a solution. Now you need to make a little bit of a plan, and that plan needs to be something that's going to be real actionable steps that is going to help you fix these big 6 things. It's going to be stuff that you can implement into your real life. I would advise taking them little steps at a time, unless you think you can just take it all on and enjoy it each time that you see an improvement. It's good to keep analysing where you went right, where you went wrong, and keep fixing these things. But if you have a written down plan, I touched on this in one of my other videos, it was about SMART objectives. The studies say that people with a written down detailed plan are more likely, or almost guaranteed success, especially if it has clear actionable steps. You write this plan down, you get your goals in place, these things you're going to work on and you're going to achieve in your life. You have the big 6 and you have them all marked off. Whether you've written it down or not, that is up to you. I don't write down all my stuff. I'm not saying you need to, but it is the best way for you to get success. The next step then, if you feel comfortable or confident with this, now this is a really difficult thing to do, is get some feedback. You can speak to your friend, you can speak to your wife, you can speak to your kids, you can speak to anyone and just say, look, I've highlighted all these things that I want to fix. What do you think about these things? And they might say, well, how about this or how about that? They might actually say, actually, you're not that bad at that. I think you're quite good, or you're strong in this area. Maybe it's here. Because like in Demetra's situation, she seen herself differently to other people. So once she went through that feedback loop with her our daughter and things, there was a totally different view from our daughter and what she was seeing herself. That feedback thing, but if you take your hat off to you, if you can sit down and ask for feedback off people, that means you have really turned a corner and you are willing to change and learn. You are willing to implement these changes and you really do seem like you're keen on making these changes. And then, from that feedback loop, you just reflect what is the plan and just start implementing little changes, little steps, tick them off, celebrate the successes, and you will just watch as each one of these 6 improve. Your life will magically improve with it. No need for antidepressants, no need for doctors. Really quite simple. And if you keep practicing these behaviours, this just becomes normal part of life, because this is going back to caveman days. This is what people done naturally. They had fear. They think, why am I scared? Oh, the bear's trying to eat me. I better get my spear out, protect myself. I better go and hide in my cave, whatever. There was always you had no choice. You basically had to implement something. Life has become so soft, and this is the easiest life has ever been in history. Listen, it's the easiest that life has ever been in history, but we have the most amount of problems. It is my strong belief that life has become so easy, there is almost no real consequence for anything now. The worst that could happen to you, for example, if you lose your job or you do this, especially in the UK, is you're going to be in a council house and living off of government money. That is almost the worst thing that can happen to you now, unless it's something health or something that's out with your control. So yeah, life has become so easy, but we have now got ourselves in a state where we have the biggest amount of problems. Life was never supposed to be easy for people. If life's too easy, we create problems, because I think we need this balance. And I think it's important to be aware of that all these things that we do see as being like big problems, that now really aren't. They're really not problems at all. Once you go through this mindset and go through this process, you will start seeing that I'm eating away at myself for absolutely no good reason. And I don't think it's always people's fault as well, because we have, in society, as I touched on, we've been encouraged to be weaker, whether it's sports, education, everything now is much softer. I'm not even 40, but over the last 4 decades, I have seen every decade things have got slightly softer. And I always hear people say, when I was younger, life was tougher, or kids these days have no respect, or kids now are weak. Do you know the interesting thing? I work with people all ages, and I used to see the same things. It was mostly younger, weaker people that I used to see. What I realised though, and this is what gets really sad for me, is these people who are quite quick to condemn, speak badly about these younger people. These are the people who were bringing them up. These are the people whose job was to educate these people, to build their mental resilience, to let them experience difficult circumstances so they could grow and grow and grow and build into young men, great young women. They failed in their job. That is why they have weaker people. They have people who have all these problems. And actually, when they sit and they speak about how weak the younger people are, these people are taking credit for something that they had very little to do with. Their behaviours were probably to do with society at that time. There wasn't this victim mentality, there wasn't this lack of accountability, there wasn't this softness, there wasn't this encouraged to be weak. People were encouraged to find solutions. And the funny thing is, it was actually their parents that made them what they are in a lot of ways, especially at the start of their life. Everyone, as they develop into young children, teenagers and things, 100%, they do have a big part to play in it themselves, and their own journey is all their own choices in most cases. But a lot of time they're taking credit for the hard work that their parents put in. They didn't take that hard work that their parents put in and they didn't translate onto their children. This younger generation they complain about is partly their fault. What I noticed was they are also complaining about the younger generation, but they also started seeing the special treatment that everyone who's stressed, they've got back pain, they're being bullied, they're victimised, they're stressed, they've got mental health, all the buzzwords. They started realising that actually these people, all these buzzwords and all these things wrong with them that they felt, or these feelings they had, were getting special treatments. They were getting days off work, they were maybe not having to work, they were getting all these nice benefits. These people that have never had any of these issues their whole life, tough people some cases, I know we call them widos in Scotland, had now picked up on this and they'd started implementing the same things because they are opportunistic people and they see an opportunity, they're going to grab it. So they see all this special treatment and they think, I want some of that. These people that have slagged off or spoke badly about all the young people are now worse in the workplace and in various other things than what the younger people are. So they've all got mental health problems now. They've all been bullied. They're all victims. They're all been... But the thing is, though, that because they're street smart and they have years and years of playing the system or they know how everything works, they can actually really stick by their guns, and they will do everything possible to ensure that they get the special treatment that they desire. And they will not do anything to try and help themselves, because there's nothing wrong with them. They are using this as an opportunity. I'm not saying everyone. There is clinically unwell people, and there is people that develop mental health and other issues later in life. I'm speaking about very specific things here. So yeah, that was just a bit of a sort of an overview there. But this victim mentality that seemed to be breeding over the last couple of decades stopped people from taking accountability for stuff. There was no real responsibility. Life becomes easier and easier. There's no consequences. We create this massive shit show, and you just see more and more people taking advantage of it. And it's quite sad, really. But that victim mentality has also stopped people from really looking for solutions. I think we need to stop that and really look at ourselves and see, where can I improve my life? Where can I take ownership of my own mental health? And if you can't do it, reach out to someone like myself, go and see a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist, but I can help you implement so many things in your life that will make you feel so much better, as many other people can do. I know many coaches. I was watching a video the other day from a coach who was saying the exact same thing. Most of his clients, after a few weeks, their mental health feeling's gone. So there's many out there that can help you change that if you want to change. But again, you need to be honest with yourself and want to make that change. So I hope you have enjoyed my insights and my experience on mental health. Now I challenge you, let's make 2024 the last year of the victim. In 2025, let's see a stronger, more confident, more mental resilient version of you. Let's start thinking about analysing your own behaviours. Let's start looking for solutions. And if anyone comes to you with a problem, the first thing I want you to say is, what's the solution? If you can say that, it really does make a big difference. What's the solution? What's the solution? Get other people around you thinking that way. Let's see more solutions in 2025. Key takeaways: think about the big six. Think about how they are impacting your life. Let's fix them. And remember, thoughts and feelings are something we can do something about. Hope that's been very helpful for you. If you want more tips, more insights, direct to your inbox. Subscribe to my newsletter below and you will get these tips direct to your inbox. Thanks for watching. We look to be doing a little bit more on mental health in the future. However, everything that we are putting on YouTube and we're asking people to implement, this is like magic. It automatically fixes everything just by implementing diet changes, lifestyle changes, getting everything up to speed, your health, your fitness, and you'll see the magic happening, all this stuff disappears. Just a quick reminder, if you are clinically depressed or you are feeling that you need to speak about these things, there is professionals out there that can give you good support. Life is very valuable. We're only on this planet once. If you are thinking about doing something bad to yourself, just remember there is many people out there, although you might not feel that just now, that do care about you. Think about how you would impact them. Don't be a victim. Don't be one of the statistics. Go out there, take action and fix yourself. If not, get help. Anyway, that's enough for me. No more victims in 2024. We want strong people for 2025 and all the best for the new year. So thanks for watching. Check out the rest of my videos and good night.